Welcome in our NBA draft guru, Mike Schmitz. I assume that's what it says on your business cards. Thanks for joining us today. You recently spent some time up in Walnut Creek, California, where the G League Ignite team was practicing. They're composed of NBA draft prospects who, I don't want to say skip school, they opted not to go to college. Instead, they're holding training camp in a bubble there, preparing for the G League season. What's your biggest takeaway being with these guys?
My biggest takeaway was that they have two potential top 5 picks who have been developing kind of off the radar, 30 minutes away from San Francisco in Jalen Green and Jonathan Kuminga. And they have 4 potential draft picks in total when you talk about Isaiah Todd and Dacian Nix. And they've really been impacted by this pandemic more than anybody because the G League season obviously put on pause, and they've been developing out there since late August. So we're talking about 5 months for these guys. And early on, it was just kind of 1-on-0 workouts. There wasn't that much that they could do, but over these past few months, they've really been building toward this G League bubble. They've added veterans. When you talk about Jarrett Jack, 37-year-old veteran who's played so many big NBA games, Amir Johnson. They've added a ton of guys, Bobby Brown, who's played all over the world. So I was able to see kind of their daily routine and what that's like. And it's 8 a.m. COVID testing every single day. And then it's really an NBA environment from there. You're talking about individual skill workout, you're getting your lift in, and then you have your team practice going through concepts offensively, defensively. How are we guarding pick and roll, learning NBA actions? So they're really gearing up for this bubble, and it's not going to be easy for them. They're going to play 15 to 20 games out in Orlando. They're leaving on Sunday, and this is a great chance for NBA scouts, executives to really get their first look at them. But they're going to be playing against guys who have played in the NBA, who are hungry, who want to prove that the G League is not high school basketball, and it's not about just coming in with your 5-star ranking. So we're going to learn a lot more about these prospects in the next few weeks here, but I was impressed with what they've been doing down in Walnut Creek.
Hey, Mike, how you doing? Paul Pierce here. I had an opportunity to be around Jalen Green when he was a high school player. He played on my AAU team for a couple tournaments. I wanted to just get an update on how's he doing. And also, how does this, change the landscape from, top high school prospects, foregoing college and going to straight to the G League?
Yeah, Jalen looked really good. I've called him the most exciting prospect in this draft. We still have him at number 3. I'm not sure he's the top prospect in this draft, but just from a level of athleticism that no one else has, he's kind of an entertainer on the floor. He loves the bright lights. And I think of Zach LaVine when I look at him athletically, a guy who just has absolute springs. One NBA scout described him as having $1 million legs with just that type of athleticism. He shoots it easy. He can score it from all 3 levels. So for him, it's about improving defensively. I think he really wants to show that he can be a two-way player. And the vets actually had a play they would call called baby. And they would basically just put him in the mid-post and attack him. And he held his own. And he's going to be a guy who's going to be tested in the bubble as well. But, in terms of the landscape of college basketball, this is a different venture. You're still going to have your guys like Steph Curry, Paul George, Kawhi, CJ McCollum, Damian Lillard, who kind of need that timeline to go do it at the collegiate level. But when you're talking about your top guys like a Jalen Green, like a Jonathan Kuminga, who's really impressive in his own right, kind of like a Jaylen Brown type of prospect, this is intriguing for them just because they're able to be coached by Brian Shaw, who has so much experience. They're around those vets that we talked about. They're shooting with an NBA ball from the NBA three-point line. They're learning how to ice ball screens in the sideline, and they're really learning how to play NBA basketball. Now, unfortunately for them, they haven't had the opportunity to play a game yet, and you guys know you learn so much from those battles, whether it's at Kansas or UCLA, having to take no possessions off and play against your peers. So I'm really curious to see how this is all going to come together. But like I said, we're going to learn a lot more about these prospects once we see them in the bubble.
Well, you said Zach LaVine, but when I first saw Jalen Green, 1 second, but when I first saw Jalen Green, my first thought was Tracy Mcgrady.
Yeah, I mean, I think he's still developing kind of those point guard skills, right? But I told him I think he has a chance to be a guy who can play on the ball in the future. You know, like we've seen from Zach, who's developed as a playmaker, even like a Bradley Beal type. You know, a guy who can score it at all three levels and has improved as a facilitator as well. So yeah, I mean, he's a big time talent, and I think people are going to be really impressed just with how effortlessly he scores the ball.
It's good to hear.
Mike, how you doing? How you doing, Matt Barnes? So who are your top 5 right now, although early, heading into this draft?
Yeah, so number 1 is Cade Cunningham. He's been the number 1 prospect for us all year. 6'8", 7'2" wingspan, 220 pounds. Really exactly what every team is looking for in today's NBA. You look at all these 6'8" wings who can create offense from all over the floor, and he really has that. You know, he makes everyone around him better, but this is an incredibly strong top 5, okay? So all these guys could potentially contend for number 1. You have Cade at Oklahoma State, and then you have Evan Mobley, who shows you a little bit of glimpses of a young Anthony Davis, just with his defense, his versatility, his skill level offensively. Jalen Green, like I talked about. Jalen Suggs, who's a tough-minded guard. He's the best player on the best team in America at Gonzaga. Yeah, it reminds me a little bit of like a Drew Holiday type, just with his toughness and how he impacts winning. And then Jonathan Kuminga, like I said, 6'8", long arms, defends multiple positions, can make an open shot. You know, he's been neck and neck with Jalen out there on a day-to-day basis in scrimmages, in practice settings. So I think he's going to open some eyes as well out in Orlando.
Well, thank you so much.
All
really
right,
appreciate it, Mike. I know that Paul Pierce is going to keep an eye on his former protege there, so we'll be checking in with you as we go here toward the draft. We really appreciate your time.
Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming, sports, and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.